Hello and welcome to the Pawsit podcast. As always, I am Dr. Sam, and with me is Dr. Robert. How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
I am doing so great because today is our 52nd podcast. It's officially 1 year of Pawsit podcasting. So I am wearing my MyBalto shirt in commemoration because I
Thank
wouldn't
you.
be here without MyBalto. So I'm very, very excited. How about you?
I'm great. I'm thrilled that we're doing this episode. It's crazy that it's been a year, and I'm surprised you haven't ran away by it now. So I appreciate you.
Oh, it's so fun. I love our weekly chats and then getting to kind of, do everything we've been doing with the podcast and everything. I know it's funny because at first we were both like, I don't know, should we do a podcast? I'm not like, what are we going to talk about? You know what I mean? Like we were both like, I don't know, should we do it? But I'm so glad we did. I'm glad that Nathan talked us into it.
Yeah, just to premise that Nathan, my co-founder slash brother slash jack of all trades, was like, yeah, you should do a podcast. It's great for getting out there. And he was right, because now we actually have listeners, actually, I think in almost every continent now.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I was kind of surprised. We have these statistics that we get back from our website that we send things out from, and so thank you to everybody across the world.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who's listening to us, and hopefully any questions come around or new ideas. I mean, we really want to be open to it. But today, since it's our 1 year anniversary of potting, I think we're having a potting party. So it's kind of like a fun thing to maybe do a bit of a year in review, like what did we learn over this time? Like what's there's lots of things we can talk about kind of reviewing our whole last year. So I thought that would be a really fun way to spend our pod this time.
Yeah, actually, I really like that because I think we've even changed a lot as podcasters over that time, and I think we all have our favorite episodes, favorite guest speakers. So I think it's a really cool opportunity to kind of rehash all that stuff. But I think first we've had some questions coming throughout the year, and it's been usually secondary podcasts, and we want to kind of maybe rehash some of those and then go from there.
Yeah. Well, I think the first one, which there's been a couple of questions, like you said. So sometimes it could be something that they missed the first time they listened to the podcast, or just like a question we've gotten on social media or something like that. So I figure we'll kind of take a minute to address them. So the first one actually was for you, Dr. Robert.
Oh boy.
We had a listener that wanted to know, with their large breed dogs, we talked about CPR, and they felt like they really understood what to do with the small animals, but not so much with the bigger guys. So this particular listener has like a large breed, I think shepherds they were. And so he wanted to know, well, what do I do if my big guy goes down?
So it's a really good question because there's a pretty big difference between the two. I won't get into much like the theories behind the two, like how CPR works. One is just, if you think about the like smaller dogs and cats, you can probably actually compress their entire chest and their actual heart. And that's what makes it a little bit different because you actually get pressure on their heart. But for these bigger dogs like Huskies or like German Shepherds, unfortunately, when they're a little bigger, yeah, right, or labs, you're not realistically going to be able to compress their heart to move blood throughout their body while you're trying to keep resuscitate your pet. So you're trying to just change the pressure in their chest. So your goal is to actually push on the highest point of their chest. You want to push it about 1/3 to 1/2 the way down when you're doing a compression. So you want to aim for the highest point in the chest and push that down, and that's literally the biggest difference between the two.
And so when you say that, like, okay, so in an emergency situation, you ideally want to also get them to a veterinarian. So we're talking about, if you have a second person in a back seat, lay them down and have them doing safely chest compressions on the way there, right? I mean, isn't that what we're talking about?
Yeah, because no matter what, like, it's dogs are already different. Actually, people are different. They don't even, like, for human CPR, they don't even tell you to like do all the other details. They say just focus on the chest compressions because it's the most important part. Same thing with dogs. You want to just maintain chest compressions, but you want medically trained professionals to do that. And because veterinarians don't come to you, you have to go to them. So yeah, having a second person, if available, is great, but focus on driving, not compressions, if it comes down to.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you do have help that can come to you, you can just turn them on their side and compress their chest. They will be on their side when you do this, not like a person. who's
Yep.
on their back. Maybe that's
Yep.
another thing to add.
Absolutely. And you can sing to Baby Shark or Staying Alive to
Yep.
keep the beat, just in case you're wondering for those parents out there, because I know there's plenty. So think about
Hmm.
that when you're doing CPR. Hopefully it's not often or ever, but
Hopefully it's never, because
yeah,
one thing to remind people, it's not always successful. You should try, you
yeah,
should give it a try, but
yeah.
unfortunately, hopefully we just don't get to that point.
Yes, hopefully we don't. So,
Yeah.
so that's CPR in a nutshell. But feel free to
Yeah.
ask more questions if you have them.
Yeah. So actually, one of the other questions we got was on our Facebook page. I guess this is one I'll kind of take, probably.
Well, yeah, I'll
um,
say it's probably wise.
and so that was about ear cleaning. We had somebody that wanted to know about whether or not it's okay to put Q-tips in the ears. So basically, the way it's important to kind of understand the anatomy of a dog's ear. So their ear canals go, horizontally, and then they kind of go vertically. So it's goes like this, and there's like kind of a bit of a turn before you get to where the actual eardrum is. So their ear canals are a lot longer than ours. And so there is a lot of space before you can cause a problem. That being said, the most effective way to clean a dog's ears, and I think we have a video on our socials that are posted there that I made.
Yeah, I believe you do. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that basically you want to get a really good ear flush. Ask your vet for a good one. A lot of the over-the-counter store ones aren't great, but there are really good ones out there.
Mhm.
And you want to fill the ear like a cup, and you really want to massage at the base of the ear. A lot of times dogs are going to shake their head, so I'd be prepared for that. And you can use a cotton ball to clean it out, and you can stick your finger in there as far as you want. Get anything that once you've massaged the ear, a lot of that stuff's going to come up, and you'll be able to clean it out. It is okay to use a Q-tip on all the nooks and the crannies. So this part of the ear is called the pinna, and that's the part that sticks up in a dog or flops down. And there are lots of nooks and crannies that you can see. And so you can use a Q-tip to get into all those spots. I wouldn't shove a Q-tip down a dog's ear, because you can shove wax down just like you can in your own ear. So
Yeah.
there's not that much of a difference there. You're not going to perforate the eardrum by sticking a Q-tip in there, unless you go around and push, which most people don't do, and I don't even think they're long enough to do that. But and I don't think a dog's going to let you do that. But um,
Also that part too.
yeah, but you don't want to be stuffing stuff down. So you're much better off using a flush, massaging it out, let them shake their head, clean out what's left. And that's a good start. You're probably not going to get all of it the first time you clean it. It's a bit of a process. So it's okay if there's stuff all the way down at their eardrum. It's going to work its way out with the flush, and that's the point of the flush. And I'm sure your vet would show you too, or watch our video, because it is a really good thing to do, especially if your dog's prone to ear infections. It's better to prevent them than to wait
Absolutely.
until they're really, really bad. So
And
that's my answer.
how often would you recommend, let's say your dog doesn't have an active ear infection,
Hmm.
or maybe it does, actually maybe for both answers.
Yeah.
How often would you recommend actually cleaning the ears? 'Cause I've heard different things from actual different general practitioners, so I'm curious
Yeah.
what your thoughts are, because
So
I don't really
everybody
know.
everybody has their own rules of thumb, right? So I don't think there is an answer for every single dog. I think every dog is a little bit different. So for those dogs that have a tendency to get ear infections, especially during their time of year. So some dogs it's all year round, some dogs it's just the spring or just the fall. And you know that because you've seen the pattern. You've seen your dog get an ear infection every fall. So then clean their ears at least once or twice a week. But if you're seeing a ton of gunk coming out of there, do it more often. You can do it every other day. If you have a Cocker Spaniel, you probably have to clean your dog's ears every day to every other day for their entire life. That's just a
That's
reality
horrible.
of having a Cocker Spaniel. It's like having a Bulldog. You got to clean their face folds every day. Like, it's just, there's certain things that when you take on this breed, your job is to keep these ears clean, because anatomy and genetics are against you. Whereas
Yes.
if you have a dog like my dog, he has allergies, but he doesn't get ear infections. So I just clean his ears once a month, maybe. Anytime he gets a bath, if he gets water down his ear, I clean his ear out, because I don't want that water staying in there, because that can give him an
Yeah.
ear infection. And so a lot of the ear cleaners will dry and acidify the ears so that they're not going to get an ear infection from getting wet. If he swims, then I'll put some in there, rub it around, and let him shake it out. It's not a lot of work. It just takes 2 seconds to do it.
Yeah.
And I think with puppies, if you have a breed like a bulldog or a cocker spaniel or a lab, even though my lab doesn't get ear infections most labs do. So
Yeah.
I would say get them used to you cleaning their ears at least once a week as a puppy so that they learn that it's a positive thing. It doesn't hurt their ears. And the first time you're doing it isn't when they have this horrific ear infection. Um,
That's a
so
really good point, actually. I think,
that's,
and I guess in general, is there a way to, for dogs that are difficult for it, is there a way to help teach your dogs, or like certain methods you can do to make it easier on them or make your job easier?
yeah, I mean, there's a few different things. Like Gus hates when I pour the ear cleaner into his ear. He just doesn't like the sensation of it. So I
Okay.
preload cotton balls for him, and I just tuck them in
Okay.
his ear and rub them around and then pull them out. So he doesn't mind that sensation nearly as much. If you have a dog that's like particularly food motivated, this is one of those times to let them just lick a lick mat of peanut butter or cheese or something like that, so that they're so focused on that. Unfortunately, you are going to have dogs that are just very, very hard to clean their ears, in which case you
Yeah.
may have to, take them to the vet every once in a while. It really just depends on, or the groomer. Some groomers will do it. Sometimes you just need to phone a friend, like you got to have somebody hold them. Some dogs you can do it yourself, but other dogs, like, you really need help. A lot of times it's getting those habits like very early on so that they're accepting of it. It's just like with nail trims, you have some dogs, if you just teach them to, make it like okay to touch their feet and okay to do a nail trim, they don't like it, but they'll let you do it. Some dogs, it becomes pathological, and then your only way to do it is to like sedate them. And
Yeah.
I've had ear dogs like that too, unfortunately.
No, that's, I think it's really good. It's helpful though, because I think that's probably one of some of the biggest struggles they have. Because again, either they've never done it before and their dog has an ear infection and the ear hurts, so you're trying to do something they've never seen before, or their dog that's prone to it and it's gonna be part of their regular routine.
It does.
So having those like options to get used to it is important.
Well, the other thing too is like depending on what kind of ear infection they have and what kind of flush you have, you sometimes can use the flush in the treatment, but
Oh,
that's something I would definitely talk to your veterinarian, because there are some flushes that don't work with certain medicines, and there are certain types of ear infections, like really bad bacterial ear infections. Sometimes you need a certain type of flush to help break up the biofilm of the bacteria for the medicine to really penetrate and do its job. So, I mean, there's little things like that which you don't probably have to deal with that often. So it's like this is what I
no.
do like every day. So, part of it is like knowing what kind of infection you're fighting, and what's going to be the best thing to go along with that. I mean, sometimes you have ears that are so bad they need steroids for a few days, like orally, even just to get that inflammation down, just so that they're comfortable enough for even handle their ears. So it really runs the gamut. Talk to your veterinarian, and hopefully, you have a veterinarian that's going to help you try to prevent these things, not just treat them when they come up. And
Mhm.
I would say really try to make yourself a partner with your veterinarian to do that.
Absolutely. I think that that's probably the biggest thing. Is prevention is so much easier if you can
Mm-hmm.
avoid it. And yeah,
Yeah.
most of the time, if you want to know why, check out our allergies episode,
Yeah.
because it's a great
Right.
one, and it
Right.
goes over all, well, not this information, but all the reasons your dogs might get allergies. So
It's
check
true.
it out. I think we
Yeah.
have, is
I
it like a
think we have a
two-part
couple
series?
of those. Yeah, yeah, we did. Yeah. We tried to do a couple of series in there.
Oh
And
yeah.
actually, speaking of like some of the episodes that we've done, one of the other questions that we got was about, because we've had a few guests on here, and people were kind of curious about like when we introduce a product, or like when we have somebody on that has either a really cool story or has just something, like how do we pick those people, and are they things that we are like saying like that you should go out and get, or just like how, why are we bringing on the people that we're bringing on? So I thought that was a pretty good question, like, just to kind of
Absolutely.
understand why we're here and why we're doing that, why we're talking to people. So what do you like to tell people?
Well, what do I like to tell people? My biggest thing is there are some people that have some amazing stories out there, and they just,
Hmm.
I think that's a very powerful message that we'd like to share with our listeners, because honestly, they're interesting stories. It gives you more of a reason to like consider the product, I think, as well. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean we endorse every single product. Some of them we think are pretty cool ourselves, but we
Yeah.
kind of keep those opinions to ourselves because we want to remain unbiased.
Hmm.
But I think at the end of the day, we're just trying to help build awareness for things that are out there. I
Yeah.
think if, and again, I'll speak to my experience at Super Zoo. I literally walked into this hall in Vegas, and there was 1,200 companies there. It's insane, like how big
Yeah.
the pet industry is, and each of these companies has often multiple products. So
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to compete and be different, and that's a very hard space to do that in.
Oh yeah.
So I think Sam and I get the pleasure of learning notes on those products
Yeah.
and saying, "Hey, these are pretty cool. You should listen to them." It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you have to buy them, but it's worth taking a listen.
Yeah. And I think for us too, I know like we both like to learn too. So it's like
Yeah.
I actually get asked all the time, well, what about this type of company? What about, you know, this type of food, this type of, whatever, what should I do for my dog's teeth? Like, and the fact of the matter is that I want to know about all of these things. And I
Yeah.
figure knowledge is power. And like you said, it doesn't necessarily mean we're saying like, oh, run out and go get these things. Like you have to have all these things. It's like, no, but you should know they exist because some of them are like just really cool. I think one of my favorite things that have come out of the podcast is getting to talk to some of these innovative, like really interesting people. I am like geeked out about it. I get so excited to talk to people who have these awesome backgrounds that brought them into veterinary medicine from a total different standpoint than I came into it, and
Mhm.
because I came in from the medicine side, and then but we've scientists. I mean, we've gotten so lucky with the people that we've talked to. I think they've been fascinating.
Oh yeah, we've had some great guests, and honestly, we've got a couple more locked and loaded for you guys. We're really excited
Hmm.
for in the near future. Some based around nutrition, which will be pretty cool.
Yeah, we're
But
gonna try to do a whole series just on different types of pet foods because I don't know if you get the same amount of questions I get, but like people ask me every day, well, what kind of food do you feed your dog? What should I be feeding my dog? What's the best dog food? And it's like, well, I need to know a little bit more about how you feed your dog, like how you feed yourself, and
Mhm.
then we can help because nutrition's a huge thing.
Oh yeah, especially now it's adapting so much from even
Hmm.
5 years ago, and there's so many different options about like being shelf stable. Some people are even doing oh, help me out here, Sam. What's
Like
the
fresh foods, you mean like deliveries and
uh
things like that?
no, it's that unique cooking process that people do. They put it like their
Oh,
food
like
in a bag.
pasteurizing them instead?
I know they put them in like boiling water, but they cook it that way in a bag. It's
Sous vide.
sous vide. That's the one. Thank you. But like, there's a company that's even doing that for their dog food now. So
Cool.
it's um, it's just changing so much and so
Yeah.
quickly. And I think there's so much information out there. It's hard
Hmm.
to put it all together. So that's kind of the fun part about for us at least.
Yeah. To get to, because I love to learn about all these
Mhm.
different companies and like understanding how I can answer when I have an owner that's like, hey, I want to feed this food. It's like, oh, well, I actually talked to the founder of that company and I know what their philosophy is. And so these are the facts about this company. And now you make your own decision. And that's always how I think is the best thing that you can do is give people the
Oh,
information and let them make their own decisions.
yeah, and I think the one really cool thing is that you and I are starting to talk to enough people now where we see products in a similar space. So let's say as another dental product, we get to really see the value of each one and how they're
Mhm.
different and how
Mhm.
it might work better for some pets,
Right.
or they might be more effective in certain breeds, or even so forth. So there's some really cool things out there that I think are uh, I'm excited to share with you. I know Sam enjoys it just as much as I do, so it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I get so geeked out about all these things. And then like we've just had some people who've come up with like great ideas. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and so sometimes it's not even something like, yeah, you may not have a hamster, but like getting to talk about, this totally thing I never even thought of before. You know what I mean? Like it was I guess I'm curious, what's your favorite or it's hard to even pick, right? A favorite. But tell me about some of your favorite episodes that we've done.
Ooh, it's so tough because we've done so many cool ones, and I think for different reasons.
Hmm.
I think I'll put it this way: the one that was the scariest for me was the teeth episode.
Yeah,
And
definitely listen to that one. It's an older one, but it is I learned a lot about, I mean, all the bacteria in your mouth and the things that it's
oh, it's
incredible.
horrifying. Like I like the information about kissing people.
Yeah.
Nope, sorry, abstinence. No, I'm kidding. But like, it was pretty impressive. There's
Hmm.
things that I didn't know, and I think that's why it's nice to have people who are specialized in their field because they just know
Yeah.
those nitty gritty details that you wouldn't know otherwise.
Hmm.
And yeah, so like that was probably it's one of the scariest ones for me. I was just like, ugh, this is weird.
But it was really fascinating and getting to talk to a scientist that's a scientist in a different way of like she
Mhm.
doesn't practice medicine, but she knows everything about microbiology. It's just
Yeah.
like so fascinating. She was so smart, I thought, and just like really an expert and really knew what she
Mhm.
was talking about and had such a personal tie to what she was doing. And I
Mhm.
think we've been lucky so far what I've really, really enjoyed about a lot of our guests has been how personal what they're doing is. And that always makes me so much more excited about somebody's story, or like,
Yeah.
you know, what they are bringing to it. It's like there's clearly passion there. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? From like um from Thomas, who was did the O2 masks. I mean, like like built this thing out of seeing, what was this need, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like, and it's like fun, like the even like, I mean, just like all of these different like experiences people have had. And like learning about the epigenetics
Oh yeah.
for EpiPause, it makes
Yeah.
me really excited about the future, because you're like, we're going to be able to do amazing things because of a genome, you know what I mean? And being able to
Oh yeah.
understand like switches to turn on diseases and turn them off. And like, we're in an infancy right now. And so this is like the opportunity to be like part of all that research and part of all that information.
Mhm.
That was one I thought was really fascinating. And one we got to do twice, because the first one got erased.
Thank you, Andrea, for being really cool about that one.
Yes, she's awesome.
So big shout out to her. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Like I think it's nice to like we kind of see the cutting edge of some things coming out right now, and most of these things will improve your pet's health in some capacity.
Yeah.
And I think the pet industry, like there's a reason, and obviously I do some investment stuff for our company trying to build awareness for what we're doing.
Mhm.
But one of the biggest things you see, there's a reason why companies like Mars are buying these different veterinary hospitals and different veterinary foods, because people are paying more attention to their pets and they want to make their pets lives better than their own, honestly. In
Yeah.
some of these
Oh
cases
yeah.
it's insane.
Mhm.
And I saw something the other day on social media, which is a dark hole of whatever social media
Yeah,
is,
you can get
but
lost there for a while.
oh, it's horrible. But someone had just recently posted that it's a picture, it was like a video of them and their dog, and they're saying, I would give up years of my own life to give more to my dog because of like how much they mean to them. And I was like,
Right.
I would totally do that. Like hands down. I was like, I would use my own life to like have more time with my dog, because like they're just such an important part of our lives. Now I think people are starting to see
Yeah.
that in a different way.
Mhm.
It's not the old fashioned like dog on the farm that comes in,
Outside. Yeah.
right. It's pretty cool. The industry's changed even throughout the time we've been practicing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And there's so many new things that are coming out, so many new therapies that we're using. And it's funny because you and we've talked about maybe even doing some podcasts on like some of the monoclonal therapies that are coming out, which I think we should, we're really starting to
Yeah.
use more of those. And it's funny because like you are probably using different ones than me, because I'm using like the Cytopoint, the Librela, the Silencia, like, and you're probably using, I don't know, the pancreatitis one and the parvo one. I don't know what they're
Yeah,
called.
the part one that's coming out, that's a big one that just popped up. So like
Wait, what is
there's
it
I
called?
agree. Uh, it's by Elanco, right? I think it's Elanco that made it.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah,
I
and so I mean, obviously this won't be the time to talk about it, because we'll but these are brand new therapies that are just so totally novel, and coming at these problems in a new way that is really promising for being able to make just a huge difference.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think that's probably one of the favorite parts about the podcast interviews. I always enjoy talking to you. Don't get me wrong. It's a great pleasure.
Well, and I
What's
feel
one of
like
your
just having one where you and I just get to talk, it's like, oh, this is like home. This is how it all started,
home
when
base
nobody
is here?
wanted to talk to us.
Right. That's so funny.
Now we've made some friends, so that's
I know,
good.
right? Great. What's one of your not favorites, but top couple episodes?
Yeah, I'd have to think about it. So I will tell you that actually going back to even just our toxicity things, I after talking to you about um approaching some of the toxicities that you see more often than me, do you know how
Mhm.
many of those I've had where I've been like, thank God we just talked about this. So I feel like I don't have to look it up right now because I know what to do, because I just talked to
Aw,
Robert about it. So
that's so
um
sweet.
so yeah, I definitely feel like I've learned from you, which is super fun, because
Yeah.
I mean, I know I can always call you and like relearn again, but sometimes you don't have the time, and it's like, so that's been really, really fun. And obviously getting the chance to talk to you every week is super fun. It's my favorite. Um, some of my favorite ones, well, actually one of them we've recorded, but hasn't come out yet. So, some of the food ones that are coming out,
Okay.
I've really learned, um, a lot from people, from getting to explore some of the different ways of feeding your dog that we've explored that we're going to talk about. So maybe that goes into our like what's coming next sort of a category, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah.
So now, yeah, I'll have to think about all of the different ones we've done. Oh yeah, because it's hard to know because we've talked to a lot of people, and then some of them are coming out and some of them have just come
Yep.
out. So um but I think I love a lot of the ones where people have taken um their expertise and turned it into ways to help animals. So like Fetch DX, like
Yep.
that was so helpful and wonderful. And he also rolled with the punches too, because we didn't have the video for that one, we only have the audio for that one. This is all
Yeah.
when we were learning like how to make a podcast.
Podcast.
We're like, oh wait, we just erased a video. And then going back to Andrea with EpiPaws, like she used her PhD to do this. And teeth, same thing, and then Thomas with muzzle. Like everyone we've talked to, I have a hard time picking one person because I love them. Like I've really enjoyed them all.
I
I
agree.
don't
They're
want
all
to pick a
really
favorite.
they're all really cool. And just for
Yeah.
people to know, our highest ranked one right now, which is actually more than our even like pilot episode,
Mm-hmm.
is Thomas's oxygen muzzles.
Yeah.
It's killing it right now. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to it,
Listen to
um,
it.
yeah, it's Thomas is great. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Great backstory too. But that's probably the highest downloaded one we have so far.
Yeah.
But I think two ones if you haven't listened to yet would actually be one with Sam and her husband. I'm not actually a part of this podcast, but I think it's great for a couple of reasons. One, Sam and Paul are just better than I am. Their
No,
dynamic is
that's not
beautiful.
true.
But I think knowing the insights, like how a veterinary relationship works, is very unique. And I think you guys do a great job of it. And I think it's nice to share that
Okay.
expertise with other people who might be in that industry one day. And just to see many of the stresses that veterinarians bring home with them. Not that people don't bring home stresses from their jobs as well, but I think there's just a difference to some things that we do every day. And the other one would be actually that's the best one. Listen to that one for right now if you get a chance. That's
Oh,
probably
you're
my
so
favorite one.
nice, Robert.
I actually really enjoyed it because I got to be on the other side of that one for once. Like I got to actually like, hey,
Uh-huh.
I have no idea what happened. I'm gonna take a listen. So it was really cool. I enjoyed that. I don't. Do you actually listen to the entire podcast afterwards?
Well, I do because I post social media clips.
See.
So I used to not, because at first when so this is the funny thing, is that at first when we first started doing this, you pulled all the clips, so you had to
Yep.
listen to everything, and I was happily ignorant of what I sound like on like a video. Like, I was like, I don't actually want to hear myself or watch myself in any way, shape, or form. But uh, but then I started taking over that part of it, and so no, I'm the one that did. So I listened to all of them, yeah.
Yep.
But I like on like not that you should listen in all its glory, but I listen on double time.
In all of its glory. Oh god, that's funny. Yeah, it was. It's been fun. Thank you for helping out with that. By the way, you're
Yeah.
huge savior. Because, but yeah, it's the worst watching yourself do these afterwards.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Then, if you could redo one episode,
Oh,
what would you do?
that's a hard one. Well, I'm gonna think about that for a minute. I don't know. Do you immediately have an answer to that one?
Kind of. Not.
Which
Yeah, I
one?
think I do. The finance one. I think
Oh,
I've even learned more ways, and maybe it's something we can redo in the future. Just like
it's funny that you just said that, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, one other one that might be helpful is listening to the finance one, but I'm like, gosh, I haven't listened to that one. I don't think I ever listened to that one. So we should revisit that one, because that one I think is probably one of the ones that resonates with people the most.
Yeah, actually, it was one of our highest downloaded for a bit, but I think
Mhm.
even now, I know so much more about the options available to owners.
Mhm.
Besides how awesome my Balto is, don't get me wrong, but there are other things. And again, Sam and I, even we talked to other clinics, and they asked like, why should we have my Balto in our clinic? We have a separate little tiny angel fund as it
Right.
is, and the number one answer we give them it's a yes and type thing.
Right.
And Sam actually was the one that said this the first time. It was brilliant, so I won't take any credit for it. But she said yes and because sometimes you need to pull from multiple different areas to make things work, and that's okay. And having that philosophy, I think, has been really helpful in understanding different options available.
Yeah, and also too, like making it really clear, like we play well with others. Like there's we don't need to be exclusive. There's
Yeah.
room for everybody in the sandbox. Like let's help as many pets as we can. So if you have a way that you've been helping a bunch of pets, well then let's help even more because now we can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I think, yeah, I think maybe that is one looking forward into the future, which is the next thing we were going to talk about. Like, where do you want to go from here? Um what do you see for Pawsit, for MyBalto, all that kind of stuff going forward?
For Posit, I really enjoy. I like the interviews. I think we're gonna try and shift gears a little bit. We're gonna keep doing brands from time to time for interviews,
Hmm.
but getting more of the professionals in our space and
Yeah.
hear about maybe like what a cardiologist does, what are the big points they make sure owners take home with them about their dog's potential heart murmur, or
Hmm.
if a dog does have cancer, having an oncologist come on and say, hey, here's
Oh
the
yeah.
big things you don't know. And I've got a couple people I've got lined up for that, hopefully in the near future. So I think that'll be kind of an interesting way to take a few things because the interviews are fun.
Yeah, they're great.
And it's a nice way to stay up to date on things. So I'm still learning even every time I talk to them. What
Hmm.
about you?
Yeah. No, I agree. Like I think trying to find a really good balance between introducing different products that are coming out, because I really do like to learn about what's out there, and people are asking me all the time and I'm like, let's get educated. Let's learn about it together so that, you know, I can bring it back to work and people can, you know, bring it to their vets, and the more we kind of open that up to people, the better. But then I do really miss like our episodes where we talked about diseases and, you know, we kind of shared what we see and how like our point of view from, you know, general med to emergency. And I would love to get perspectives of some of the specialists, because a lot of times people don't have access to them
Hmm.
unless they go to a bigger medical facility like yours, or to, you know, a vet school or something like that. And not every state even has a vet school, so it's, you know what I mean, like I think having access to being able to ask questions and hear from people who do nothing but that all day, I'm really really excited for that. um and I'm really excited for the future for like MyBalto to really start to make a difference in the community. I really want to see pets be helped, you know, in a real way, where we can really start to see our kind of whole our dream come to fruition, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I cannot wait. I'd say I'm chomping at the bit for that one, and it's been the hard work of a lot of people who goes there, and it's pretty cool. And hopefully, a segment I'd like to bring in at some point is once we have a continual basis of pets we're helping, even getting a shout out to them at the end of the episode or the beginning of the episode, and just saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, this week the foundation again." We want to be very clear. We're helping enable veterinarians to do their job, so we're not doing the work.
Right.
It's the veterinarians that are really saying, "Hey, I can help this case." So we want to give a shout out to those people who are going above and beyond. And yes, now they have a resource to do so, but they're still the ones that are doing the work to get there. So I think that's something
Maybe we
that
can
would like.
say celebrate the vet and the pet.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a great way of putting it. Celebrate the vet and the pet because I think both are integral to what we do. So that'd be something I'd like to incorporate, I think, in the future.
Yeah, because we as veterinarians, we really do actually want to support vets and like keep the mental health in a good spot. And that actually is something I think we need to talk more about too, you know, going forward. We've talked a little bit about burnout. We've talked a little bit about, you know, how you treat your veterinarian and how you treat the staff, and, you know, how you celebrate your techs. And, you know, so I think the more we can do to kind of celebrate what veterinarians and their staff do, and how we keep them happy and safe, I think that would be really helpful as well.
Yeah, have we done a mental health episode yet?
Not like full on mental health. We talked about burnout a little bit, which I
Okay.
think is like a useful, so people could kind of understand why there's
Yeah.
burnout in veterinary medicine. But I do think maybe like a not one more vet or one of those types of things could be
Yeah.
something to talk about too. So I think we've got lots of ideas. So, you know, even after a year, we're like, oh, what about this? Ooh, what about this? You know, so I can say that I'm very excited to keep talking to you every week, and hopefully people will keep listening. And I've just had a really fun time. So I thank you for being my co-host.
Thanks for carrying me along for a while. If I had to
Oh,
look back at the
stop.
first couple of episodes, I would have like shot down the first 10 and been like, can we just start over? Because it definitely, if you've ever done a podcast, and not more people doing podcasts than ever, and
Yeah.
I think it's great, but you definitely learn a lot and get your rhythm after like the first, I don't know, I think we found our groove after the first, I don't know, 7 to
You.
10.
Yeah. Well,
You
and even
found
just
you,
bringing
yeah.
people into it is different. Like I always
Mhm.
get this like moment of panic when I have to say someone's name, even if it's not a hard name to say. I'm like, don't mess it up, don't mess it up, don't mess it up, don't mess it up.
That's so true because you guys haven't seen this podcast yet, but it's coming very soon.
Mm.
I had to do the first one by myself. Oh god, I was like, I definitely practiced for a good like 5 minutes even before they got on because I knew their names, and I was like, all right, I just gotta get this part down so that way when they come on, I was like, I did not give Sam enough credit for this part because I do not want to screw this part up.
Well, you just never want to offend anybody. You know, you're bringing them into your house and you're like, I want you to feel welcome in our house, not like, oh, I don't, who are you again? You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely. So it's unknown pressures that I realized for the first time. So I think we make a great team. I'm very, very lucky that we get to hang out every week.
yeah,
Sometimes more than that, actually,
yeah.
with
Well, we do
our
a lot of other
podcast.
stuff too.
So
Oh
that's
my
been
goodness.
great.
Well, I appreciate you and I appreciate everybody that listens. If anyone has any questions, they can always email us at pawsit@mybalto.com and keep checking out
Oh,
what we're doing
podcast, I
with,
think, right?
what did I
Podcast at my
say?
Balto?
What did I
I
say?
think is it pause it?
Oh, ignore me. Yes, yes, podcast.
I was like,
Okay,
oh, maybe
so by
just pause
next
it.
year, by year 2, I'll know that one.
I should take over something. Maybe I'll do that one. I feel
Just
bad.
do that. Yeah. Well, in the beginning, that was your job because I was like, I can never remember it. I don't know why.
Oh, that's funny.
The other thing
Yeah.
I've realized is you can make a mistake and it's not that big of a deal because I can go back and correct it. So,
Yep.
podcast@mybalto.com. I'm imperfect. What are you going to do?
You guys have no idea the things we've edited from this podcast. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
man.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. This has been the 1 Year Pawsit podcast. We are so appreciative to everybody who's been listening. Keep listening. We've got some good stuff coming soon.
Thanks, guys.